Hi, I'm Don Robertson with I Love Wight County, and I'm here today at I Love Wight Volunteer Rescue Squad. They've got a beautiful new facility, and we're here to meet with some of our volunteers and to talk about the great services that they provide our citizens, as well as their partnership with the county. We hope that it'll give you some great information and insight as to how the county works with our volunteers to provide you the best services possible. So stay tuned. So we're here today with some of our emergency services personnel. We've got Chief Brian Carroll with I Love Wight Volunteer Rescue, Chief Jeff Terwilliger with the county, and Chief Jason Stallings with Smithfield Volunteer Fire Department. Jeff, you've been with the county for about 7 months now, and you've gotten a chance to know the community and to know the volunteers and the people that you're working with. What are your observations at this point?
Well, I think it's important right now to say, we've got a great team here. One of the things that I'm really pleased with is that we really got a great group of volunteer and career members, and the folks work together really well, and I Love Wight's a good place to be. Excellent.
Brian, we're shooting on location at your new station, and it's a great place. We really love it, but what do you think about it? What are the volunteers saying about your new station?
Don, we're so blessed to be in the new facility, and the volunteers really enjoy it. The facility was built around career and volunteer staff put together. We have a facility that we can be very proud of. We're centrally located to our district. We have good ingress and egress, which was a concern initially, but we use Fairway Drive and the bypass. We try to be good neighbors to our neighbors across the road. And the best part of our facility, the thing we're most proud of, is certainly the training facility in the back that we open to the public and use nearly 5 days a week.
Excellent, excellent. Jason, the county worked with Smithfield Fire, and you guys received a new truck recently. How's that working out for you?
So far, it's been great. We've been very proud with the truck. It's sitting behind us. It's taken the delivery capabilities of the fire department and just advanced them well ahead of where we were. The truck it replaced only carried 2 people. This carries 6 people. A little bit bigger pumping capacity, more room for equipment and stuff like that, and it's just all around safer. It's been a really good truck, and we've been pleased the way the county's handled it as far as working on it.
I know you guys have been working on some joint response between I Love Wight Rescue and Smithfield Fire, and could you maybe tell our audience a little bit about how that works?
The Smithfield Fire Department, for about the last 12 months now, Chief,
Yep.
We worked very closely with the members, with Chief Carroll and the I Love Wight Rescue Squad and even the county staff to help address a need with call volumes and priority medical calls in our first 2 fire district. We identified what calls they needed help on, and we are now being dispatched automatically with them. And it increases that response time. We actually, I believe it was in Gatlin Point a couple months ago, we actually had a save from where the engine crew was able to get there ahead of the medic and get to a person that was down in cardiac arrest and begin life-saving procedures before the arrival of the medic. And it's all around, for the customers, it's nothing but good.
The one thing we didn't want to lose, Don, when we moved from that side of town was quick response to priority calls that may be closer to Station 50. So that's kind of what initiated that response. And we identified those 5 types of priority calls that we felt like needed faster response. And we've worked together to license I believe all of Smithfield Fire's apparatus as EMS equipment now. So anything that they go out with, they're prepared to do EMS on.
And one of the things for the county, that's a best practice. When you look across the nation, the state, best practices of fire and EMS working together, a lot of these calls are beyond what a typical 2-person crew on a medic unit can do, and being able to get that additional support is good for the citizens. So it's really good to see here in the county.
And certainly the county is proud of its partnership with the volunteers. Jeff, I know one of the things that the county's been working on is hopefully working closer with the volunteers in terms of meeting some of their financial needs, addressing some of their core bills. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, one of the things that we've talked about in some detail is about the possibility of looking at some of those core expenditures like utilities and facilities. Gas, electric, light, everybody has those expenditures. So we're looking at and exploring some options. And in fact, Smithfield and I Love Wight, we're looking at direct paying utilities on the front end, certainly save an administrative task for them. In addition to that, you never know about utilities. They fluctuate sometimes with cost. And in the past, those costs would absorbed by the station. And for the county direct paying, it kind of alleviates that for us.
Great, great. hopefully we'll get some economies of scale out of that, and that would actually be a cost savings to the taxpayer as well. So
yeah, and the hope is, we start with these agencies, and there's a couple other of our volunteer departments that have talked about coming on board. And my hope is a year from now, maybe we can have everybody on board with that.
I know another issue that's been on the, certainly on the front burner for months now, and that's the facility use agreement. That's something that was instituted to bring about some uniformity throughout the county with regard to the county's relationship with the volunteers. How's that been working? These agencies are certainly a part of that agreement, as is the county, and so how's that been working?
I think one of the things for our citizens to understand is if we go back in history and look at where we were prior to the facility use agreement, one of the things that we had is like you mentioned earlier about consistency in service or support that we provided to the various stations. It varied from station to station. We had some stations that we were doing ground maintenance. We had some stations that we were doing certain repairs to, other stations we were not. And it created some animosity between the stations, and rightfully so. So, from the county's perspective, I really think that we have a greater sense of accountability and consistency. Accountability, not just so much on the volunteer stations, but also on the county. I mean, these guys let us know if there's an issue with their facility, they expect it to get fixed, and rightfully so. And I've been approached by both of these gentlemen about repairs that were needed in the stations, and being able to have those clear lines of roles and responsibilities outlined in a formal agreement has been beneficial.
Excellent. Jason, you feel like there's been any improvement in our relationship or the way things work for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be the first one to admit that when we first went to the facility use agreement, there was a little bit of hesitation on my part, but we've never had that before. The town, when we were in the town building, they were really good at maintaining the facility. If something was broke, it was easy enough just walk in the back hallway and take care of it. Once we moved into the new facility, it was a question of how was that going to happen. And the facility use agreement has given us that path to get stuff done. And the county's so far has been really good at getting the stuff done. We send in the work orders like we're supposed to through the proper channels, and somebody shows up within a fairly reasonable amount of time most of the time, and they get stuff done or they get the right person coming out. Luckily, we haven't had any huge hiccups. Just minor stuff, station alerting system, and we went through some stuff with that. We used working with the county vendor, but that's been able to get taken care of, and it's worked well so far. So we've been happy.
And Brian, you've got a new facility, but surely there's some things that have to either be maintained or maybe some things that didn't quite work as they should have at the initial installation. But how's that working for you guys?
Don, it's kind of the same thing. When we have an issue, we submit a work request and it gets fixed in a timely manner. Probably the biggest, one of the biggest concerns with us with the facility use agreement was with the training facility that we wanted for civic uses. So we submitted a list of about 12 organizations that we thought civically would use the facility, and approximately 5 of those so far have used it in the 9 months that we've been here. As you know, we submitted the list, and in 12 or 16, 24 hours, we had it back with approvals for all 12 organizations. And there again, that's probably the proudest part of the facility, and we're glad that we can offer that to the citizens.
Well, and I think that is a phenomenal benefit, not just to the volunteers, but the community at large, to have a very nice facility that they can use when needed.
Yeah, and Don, I'd touch on this. I mean, I think we talked about the work order process. One of the things that we're proud of, I think, is when you look at the follow-up of things. I think one of the things I always heard from the station when you go around was, what's the status on this? And really with having the facility use agreement in place and having these guys holding us to the fire about being accountable to ensure that gets repaired, it's really forced us to go in and have a liaison, a logistics liaison that we have so the stations can contact to make sure that we know the status on all work orders and make sure that we're able to follow up with the volunteer fire departments and keep them posted on where we are. So that's been a good thing. Since January, there's been over 70 work orders that's been completed in our various facilities. Different stations, different magnitude of projects have been completed.
Excellent, excellent. One of the other subjects that's come up recently has been funding. Obviously, the county makes a contribution to each of the volunteer agencies. That's typically done on a quarterly basis. I take it that that has not been impacted or interfered with as a result of you all participating with the facility use agreement. Although, you know, that is something that has been discussed. Jeff, I don't know, maybe you can speak to that in terms of how that works, and for those entities or agencies that have not signed the facility use agreement, what the relationship is there.
Basically, the way we work typically is we have quarterly contributions that are made to the various departments. They submit a list of expenditures, and then every quarter we release a quarter contribution to them. The stations that are not currently on with the facility use, the county has a process in place to where if they submit their operational expenditures, we will direct pay for them. So that's still on the table. We're still have the process in place to do that for the companies that aren't on board.
All right. And just thinking about the future, what areas out there do you guys think we might need to focus on in the future to improve our services, not only with you all, but also with the community at large?
Well, I'm a broken record for these two guys, and I think everybody else in the county listening to me. At least for us in Smithfield, you know, our concerns are standardizing training standards across the county, response standards. We'd love to see something out of the county because, you know, I'm a contractor. I contract to the county to provide a service to the customers, the citizens, the visitors, that kind of deal. And I need to be held to a standard, and what the question is, what is that standard? You know, how fast do you want a fire truck showing up? How many times do you know, how many people do you want on that rig, and that kind of deal. We've got a fairly extensive standard operating guideline book that we operate off of in Smithfield Fire Department at least, and we hold ourselves to a standard, which I think is on line with where the county would want us to be. But you know, it goes back to the funding thing too. If you're going to pay me to do a job, then you know, you should expect something out of me. And I'd just like to see some standardized responses and stuff, and for the most part we're there. It's just getting it all on paper. We've got 7 really good agencies in the county, and we work really well together. It's just a matter of getting it down and document it and continue that move forward.
I agree, Don, with Jason, and just mirror his response. Response standards, standards of care, level of training amongst providers. I think that's probably the top 3 things we need to look at. I think we as volunteer organizations in this career, and as the county, as Department of Emergency Services, need to sit down and develop a common mission statement and a common set of goals and work forward from there on those goals. And the other thing that would be absolute top of that list is recruitment and retention for volunteers in the county, because that's the true cost savings to the citizens.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, both of these gentlemen talked about best practices from staffing and being able to find the level of services that we provide. You know, and having clear expectations on what we can expect in your district. You know, if somebody shows up, you know, what is an engine company? I mean, I think those are all legitimate things. One of the things that is important to note is a couple months ago, we've requested the Virginia Fire Service Board to come in and do an assessment of the same things that Chief Stallings and Chief Carroll mentioned about being strategic in our approach. And the board approved that, and we had the Virginia Fire Service Board coming in. Actually, the process has already started. They'll come out and meet with the individual fire departments and have a town hall meeting, and we'll look at some best practices. So the future's bright for all of Wight County.
Excellent. Well, on that note, we certainly like to thank all of you for your comments and just for the feedback that you provided. We know the citizens have benefited tremendously from the partnership between the county and the volunteers, and we look forward to a bright future together. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope the information that you've just seen has been helpful in terms of your understanding of the county and its relationship with volunteers, and just how the facility use agreement works, and how the county is striving to work with the volunteers to provide you the best services possible. We encourage you to sign up for Voices from the Aisle. You can do that at our website at www.iwus.net. And certainly we want you to stay tuned to the County Beat and other resources that help you to stay informed as a citizen of Isle of Wight County. We'll see you next time for some more great information.